Welcome to the podcast of the impossible. I'm Peter Wood, and today's guest is the co-creator and co-performer of the Psychic Ghost Theater, an exclusive revolutionary show which ran for many years in the DC suburbs, and we are going to talk all about it. Give it up for my guest and friend today, Mr. Barry Taylor.
Yeah.
And I say co-creator and co-performer because you and your lovely wife, Susie, did that show together for years.
My wife was a big part, a major part of the show.
Yep. And so you sort of acted as the magician and mentalist, and she was the medium and the sort of
the psychic go-between.
Right, right. And it was basically people. It was a very intimate show, like 24
About
seats,
25 people.
Okay, yep.
In there. Yeah, it was a nice, quaint theater.
So every seat was great. I mean, because everything was basically close up.
I even tiered it.
Yeah.
So if you had like 6 or 8 seats here and then 8 more, they were on another level, and the third row was even a little higher.
Okay.
And so they were actually like stools, but they were comfortable padded chairs that were more of a size of an elevated stool.
Okay, right.
The first 2 rows were cushioned chairs.
Okay, okay. So yeah, so everyone could see well, and then it was.
And it was so up close. I was only I was only like not even 10 feet away from them.
Yeah,
at the most. Yeah.
And it was moving from, was it 2 different rooms or how? Because I know you had like the magic theater part, but then also sort of like a ghost show sort of portion.
Yeah, so it was divided. The first section was on one part of the theater, the room, and it was magic and comedy mixed in, and then it progressed into some mind reading things and some psychic stuff.
Cool.
And I even did a thing where my wife floated up in the air.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And my wife did a few things where she did some, spoon bending stuff and a couple of different things.
Okay.
And so that was more the magic and, mentalism, mind reading section.
Right, right.
And then near the end of that section, we did the spirit cabinet, which is a very famous effect where my wife would get all tied up to a chair, her neck, her arms, her legs, her body. And these guys would tie her up good.
Sure.
And then she's inside this little curtained area, which was about 6 feet wide and just a few feet deep. And she's sitting in that chair all tied up. Then I would close the curtain and all kinds of strange things would happen.
Right.
Because I had placed her into a trance, and she was going to try to commune with the spirits.
Okay.
And so because the theme of our show is called the Psychic Ghost Theater, we had a occurring theme of trying to interact with the spirits.
Okay, all right.
And so all kinds of crazy stuff would happen. And then I'd whip open the curtain, and she's still all tied in a trance. Yeah. And they would come up and check her bonds, the ropes and everything. And I said, okay.
Nice.
And a lot of amazing things happened that just seemed impossible. But I said, well, it's the spirits interacting.
Sure, sure.
And then we'd actually put a chair in the cabinet for somebody to go sit down with Suzanne.
Okay.
And she was Suzanne, the spirit mistress.
Yes.
And as I put the chair, I said, now we're going to let you go. And all of a sudden, the chair would fold up and fall over on its own.
Oh,
because
nice.
my wife, Susan, was still all tied in a trance, just sitting there like this, and her legs are tied to the bottom of the chair, her feet, ankles, and her legs are tied to the thighs, and her body's and her arms are tied to the a chair. She's secure. Yeah. She couldn't get out.
Sure.
And so the chair falls over, and I go, oh. Well, I'm glad I'm not going in there with the spirits, but you're going to go. So give the guy a big hand.
Nice.
And we'd put him in there, and he'd sit there. And I said, well, I don't want you to see something that cause you have, some kind of strange
nightmares
or something. Yeah. I forgot the dialogue, but, it was something to, allude to the fact that maybe it was going to be some scary experience. So I put a blindfold on him. Okay. And I said, now you're going to hold on to Suzanne. And he put his hand on her head.
Okay.
And then he put his hand on her leg.
Right.
And I go, wait a minute. I said, I don't want you to get too familiar. So I put a pie tin on her leg, and he'd put his hand on the pie tin.
Okay.
And now we close it, and all of a sudden you'd hear this weird noises. And the guy, he when the person was, he'd always be going, ah! Like that.
Right.
And then I'd whip open the curtain, and this happened in just a matter of seconds. And he had this bucket on his head, and his pant leg was pulled all the way up like this.
Okay.
And he's sitting there, and he's still got his hands on her head and on her leg.
Right. Okay.
And I said, oh, my God, are you all right? He said, oh, you couldn't hear him, So I said, well, let me take that bucket off your head. Yeah. And he had a hat, was like a cat in a hat that was pulled all the way down over his face.
Okay.
I said, what is going on here? And I'd take that off, and then I'd fix his pant leg. And I said, was it as good for you as it was for all of us? And, all this stuff that you have that makes the whole interaction more fun.
Sure.
And so people really got a kick out of somebody in the audience going in there and experiencing it. And they didn't know what.
Ssure.
They had no idea what happened.
It was a better trick for them than for the rest of the audience watching. Yeah.
Funny thing, though, one time we put a guy up in there, and when all this stuff was going on, you heard him going, no. And so when we opened the curtain, he's there, and his pant leg is up, but his other pant leg didn't get pulled up because he had what is one of those police monitor things?
Oh, an ankle bracelet.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So when all that stuff was happening, he was going, no.
Oh, no.
Because he didn't want his leg to be pulled up to show.
Right.
But, that was funny. We had a lot of weird experiences happen.
Oh, I bet. I mean, the show ran for, what, 5 years?
Almost 7 years.
Okay. All right. And you were doing it. I mean, it was sold out months in advance.
Yeah. Oh, man, people, because we only had 25 people, so it would get sold out.
Yep.
And the last thing in the spirit cabinet was we would take someone's jacket, and I'd say, well, give the spirits this jacket, and I'd throw it over the curtain when it was closed. And BB's still all tied up, and they would check her. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I'd open the curtain after like just 2-3 seconds, and she'd be wearing the person's jacket.
Oh, nice.
And she's still all tied. Her arms are tied, the leg, body, she couldn't get up. And the jacket is on under all these restraints. It's actually on her body. Yeah. And I'd have people check, and then finally I'd say, oh, what you've seen is... what was the line? Something like impossible or something. And I'd close the curtain, and the coat would fly back out, and I'd catch it. Nice. And then I'd whip open the curtain, and my wife was still all tied. Sure. And then when we had the music coming on, because we had music all throughout our show to enhance the atmosphere and the the feeling of the magic. So when that happened, it came on, I got the power. I got the power. So we had all kinds of music that would help elicit the mood.
Yep, sure.
So then they had to come up. I said, well, here, come on here, take these scissors, and you got to cut her free.
Okay.
She could not get out.
Nice.
We had to actually cut all those ropes.
Sure.
To get her out.
That's great.
And then she could come up and take a bow.
Yeah.
And that was great.
No, it's one of those shows that you... at least I, read about in the history of magic and performing, but that just for so many reasons isn't done anymore. And it was so cool that you guys sort of brought that, part of it got modernized, but other parts of it didn't need to be, because it was just as great when you did it as it was 100 years before.
Oh, yeah. It's a classic effect. Of course, the way we did it, we added some of our own effect to it and technique. And it's very unique. It's not something people have seen, and it's not too many magicians who have really ever performed that.
Right, yep, yeah.
And then after that was done, then we had an intermission, and then we went to the other side.
Right.
Of the room.
The other side.
Yeah. And that turned out to be a whole seance that came to life and a ghost story. Yeah. And then all kinds of strange things happened. And sometimes when the lights went out and weird things happened, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face because we had it all set up so it could be totally dark. I mean, I had to blank out all these windows with plywood and then cover that with black cloth. And then we had nice curtains covering that.
Okay, right.
So it looked good. And one thing that happened, there was a big mirror, and it was at the end of the row where the people sat. And my wife sat in front of them at a table, and a lot of weird stuff was happening, and strange things happened to the audience. But all the way like to the right of the row of chairs, there were 2 rows, the chairs, and then the stools that were up on a raised platform. And there was a big mirror that covered a whole wall almost. And one of the things was the mirror would bleed and blood would be on the mirror. And people go, Miss Suzanne, the mirror is bleeding.
Right.
So we created, that was a whole thing that we created.
Yeah.
Totally all original things that we came up with.
That's great.
But it had some spooky effects that people really had a good time, but they were actually a bit apprehensive about what was going on.
Yeah.
Some people actually got really scared.
Yeah.
And because and my wife was so good, she was like in character, and they wow. I'll tell you one funny thing.
Sure.
Things would happen when the lights went out to the audience, and one of the things was when the lights came back on, this one girl had black stripes all on her face. And this was a group of black people that came, and we were good friends with them. And the guy would bring groups because he would come again, and he wanted his friends to see this.
Yeah, sure.
So when they turned and saw her, they were, because sometimes black people are a little more apprehensive or suspicious, or what's the word?
Well, I mean, it's a cultural, I've talked before on here. Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. There's definitely the concern about, is this magic actually real sometimes in different cultures. Yeah.
So this girl had the black stripes all over her, and everything. And she's going, what?
Right.
They showed her because like we had the mirror, and she would look. Oh!
Of course, the mirror's covered in blood too, so she thinks she's got a bloody face.
Oh God! But I'll actually let you in on this. Wait, I'll tell you what. If you want to get an example, I'll give you an example of how that could have happened. Give me a second here. I just gotta. Sometimes I gotta get my throat.
We've got all of our provisions here. That should be fine.
You ever get, when you get older, I get like a liquid caught in my throat if I swallowed wrong.
Okay.
And then it takes me forever to kind of clear my throat.
Sure. Yeah.
So excuse me if I.
No, it makes for good good audio.
See, I just swallowed. Oh God! Oh my God! Oh man!
Oh no! Oh no! It's even multicolor. Right. I don't really want to know where this has been, but oh man!
Oh my God!
Makes perfect sense.
Man, I think I got a little indigestion.
Yeah.
Anyways, the reason I wanted you to see this is like streamers, like kabuki streamers.
Yeah.
So one thing I used these, when the lights went out, they didn't know I was there. Okay. I would leave after halftime. I say, I'm going to leave, and you'll be with Suzanne.
Yeah.
And I would go out, and they'd see me go out this thing. I had to go down this stairwell and close the door. Okay. I said, I'm going to meet the real spirits over at the Royal Mile Pub.
Nice. Yep.
And so they go, is he really leaving us? And she says, and then my wife, she was beautiful. She had this, maybe if you know Endor from Bewitched.
Oh, yeah.
The mother of Samantha. Yeah. Well, she had an outfit kind of like that.
Okay, yep, sure.
And it was real pretty.
Nice.
And so she would do the whole bit by herself.
So people thought they were there alone with her, right?
But of course, there was a secret entrance that I could get back.
Excellent.
And then I was in a hidden room.
Uh-huh.
And when I needed to, I could come out and make things happen. And one of the things that happened was I would throw those streamers out onto the audience, and they would feel these things hit them in the dark, and they didn't know what's going on. And I used the big ones, so it spread around the whole audience.
Yeah.
And it would hit them, and then I'd pull it away, and I'd be gone. I'd go back into the secret room.
Right.
Well, usually I use black streamers.
Sure.
And so
you don't see them. Yeah.
This girl, well, you couldn't see him anyways because it was totally black in the room.
Sure.
And then the lights would come back on.
Right.
Everybody'd be going, what was that?
Yeah.
And so this girl, when it hit people, it would hit them around their head or their face or on their body.
Yeah.
Well, she was sweating so much, and this is paper stuff, and the colored ones, the dye would, it would come, if it got wet, it would come off.
Right, okay.
So the streamers hit her in the face. She was sweating. She was so nervous and, superstitious.
Yeah.
It went across her like that, and I pulled it away. Well, it left these black streaks on her face. And everybody thought some weird stuff had happened.
Yeah, that's a great effect.
And then one other thing was, when the lights came back on another time, a person goes, my glasses are gone. My glasses are gone.
Right.
And Suzanne's going, what? What do you mean your glasses? The ghost took it. My glasses just flew off my face.
Right.
And nobody touched her or anything, Other people get touched different ways, but so everybody's looking.
Yeah.
Now I'm hidden away,
right,
and they can't find this person's glasses. They says, well, they just flew off my face. The ghost.
Yeah.
And my wife realized what happened, and she went in the other room and said, I'll be back in a minute. And inside now it was much bigger.
Yeah.
All these streamers,
Yeah.
The glasses were caught
right,
because the streamers went across her face, and when I pulled them back,
sure,
it pulled her glasses right off her face.
That's great.
And so my wife went in the other room, and then she came back out and says, I think I have them. The ghosts have given me your glasses back. Here they are. So we had things that happened that even enhanced some of the strangeness that went on in the Psychic Ghost Theater. It was a lot of fun, and we got great reviews, and we created a very unique show that you just wouldn't see, that kind of show.
No, I mean, that was not, it was not a generic show.
Oh, no.
And so that meant, and like you said, I mean, you mentioned the customer who would keep coming back and bringing, just like a movie or something where like, I want to make sure that my friends get a chance to experience this. That's part of what you guys were able to set up.
And sometimes, because I knew that person, we had met. I had done shows, and I met him, and we became friends. And he came to the shop, and then he came to our show, and he said, "Oh, this is," and he would bring people back. I'm bringing a whole group. I want the theater for all of us.
Yeah.
And so when I knew that he was coming, and there were a couple of guys that came, I would use them in the show to create some part of a mind reading thing or mystic effect. So, and then I just taught them what they had to do. Yeah. And of course I created the effect, but they were in on it. So then it seemed like they had the power.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and that sort of customization again, like you're able to, tie it into that, what those people were enjoying. I just wanted to, one of my favorite stories, that I wanted to get in here. And in the spirit also of sort of giving people a little behind the scenes, I think a little peek behind the magic curtain every now and then. That's why folks are tuning into this. And also, if you know how to play the guitar a little bit, then you appreciate somebody who's really good at it. So, we had a thing at the magic shop where next to the phone was a list of 52 names, first names. And each one each one corresponded with a playing card, right?
Yeah.
And so if I'm the magician, I have somebody pick a card, and I will secretly figure out what that card is through many means. And then what was fun is you'd be able to call the magic shop or any of us who sort of were in this like
the inner
secret
circle
club, right,
that had the cheat sheet.
Right. And we would carry it in our wallets, And so the point is, at any time you could call, the magic shop, and instead of asking for Barry or Peter, you would ask for like Sam,
Jim,
and whatever. Just so, and the reason you're asking for Jim is because I see on this little cheat
Ten
sheet,
of Hearts.
right? The person chose the 10 of hearts, and so I say, here, call the magic shop, ask for Jim. But that didn't always work out. Do you want to talk about, was it our friend Lenny who had a hiccup with it? Or I'm trying to remember who was.
I'm not sure. I know
Okay.
one. I'll never forget that Jim was the 10 of hearts.
Okay.
You couldn't remember 50. Well, you could.
Yeah.
But 52 names corresponded with the 52 cards.
Mm-hmm.
But I had these little cheat sheets and they were laminated.
Yeah.
So you could have it and look at it.
Yeah.
And you would know. So I'd say, I want you to talk to my friend here. Just ask for Jim the psychic.
Sure.
And that's all.
Okay.
And by the person saying, can I speak to Jim the psychic? Well, whoever was on the other end,
Right.
he knew to look at his cheat sheet.
Yep.
And he would be able to tell him what the card was that they had picked.
Yep. Sure.
Well, this one guy, he's at a strip joint.
Okay. All right.
And he's doing the trick to the girl who was one of the dancers.
Right.
And she picked the 10 of hearts.
Okay.
So he calls me and she goes, can I speak to Jim the psychic? And I go, Jim the psychic? And I'm driving. And I'm going, yeah, wait, he's in the back seat. we're driving. Let you talk to him. So I have to get out the cheat sheet and I see it. And it's the 10 of hearts. And I go, oh my gosh. Yes, young lady, you are, I sense that you are a beautiful lady. Mm-hmm. I can feel the energy. You're a very loving person. And I'm seeing how you have a good heart. Mm-hmm. And I say, and you're very beautiful. Like if someone was to have you in a beauty contest, you'd be like a perfect 10.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, you have such a good, hey, did you pick the 10 of hearts?
Right,
and she goes, wah. And I didn't know.
Sure.
I just thought it was a girl that he had. Well, he calls me back later and says, I was in a strip club and I had the stripper pick the card. And I'm going, oh my God, it worked so perfect because I told her she was beautiful.
Sure. Yep.
Perfect 10.
I don't know, Jim the psychic. I mean, hey, there's a reason Jim the psychic has you chauffeuring him around. He is a top-notch psychic in the backseat of your car there.
It just shows you the funny situations that we get into, and we have the camaraderie. Magic is something that creates a special camaraderie and what do you call it? A circle of friends, like a club.
Sure.
What would you call like a special club?
Yeah, I mean, a fraternity.
Fraternity, yes. Thank you.
But I think
I'm getting old now.
Yeah.
And when you lose your memory, forget about it. So
no good.
Anyways, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to show you how mentalism works.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to think of a color.
Okay. All right.
Then I want you to pick up my psychic thoughts. So look at me.
Okay.
I know it's not easy, but just for a second.
Okay.
Okay. Give me what color?
Blue.
No, it was red. I was thinking red. I thought you would have got
close.
that. Oh my gosh. Well, anyways, I'll tell you what. Let me just stuff this back into my. Here, go put that in. Push it in.
All right.
Isn't that fun?
I don't know about that.
We'll push that all the way down in there. And then if you would, do me a favor, wave your hand, and we'll get rid of the red one, and I'll give you another chance later on.
Okay, that sounds good. Best of luck to me. And thank you to Barry Taylor for hanging out here with me on another fun and visual episode of the podcast of the impossible. That's going to do it for this one, but for more of my public shows and special projects, the Museum of the Impossible, all that fun stuff, you can head on over to oftheimpossible.com.
Yeah, and Peter, he can really enlighten you about so much, so don't miss an episode.
There's all sorts of good, all sorts of fun stuff. But thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.